My Slippers. I got to explain this to you. They are exclusive 3-tier cushioning system. It's like walking on clouds, right? We took the My Pillow patented foam, the one that you know and love, and they created a solid layer to provide incredible comfort. Don't forget to use the promo code Carter, CARTER, and you will receive 40% off of your My Slippers. Your whole family's going to love it. Our nation is upside down. I'm telling you, I know this. I know you're all feeling it. I'm feeling it. I don't even know what's going on here. Okay, first, let's just start with the border. I've been back and forth on the U.S.-Mexico border now for about at least 6 weeks. You probably didn't see me last week if you were watching the Sean Hannity show. I'm usually on the show. At least I've been on almost every night covering the border. But last week, because of everything that was happening in Chicago, all of the rioting that's happened across the country, all of the racial tensions have taken center stage. They took place last week, but I was still on the border. I was in San Diego and in Mexico, in Tijuana. I got to tell you about that. Tijuana is wild. Still the best tacos in the world. You will find them in Tijuana and Ensenada. I give Tijuana that, but you don't want to run into the drug cartels and you don't want to run into the bad guys. But the tacos are well worth the drive. They are, if you just know where to eat them. By the way, El Ruso in Tijuana is the best. I'm throwing it all out there for you guys. And I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in our country, what we've been dealing with under this new administration, Biden administration, President Biden, which I don't even know where he's at, Vice President Kamala Harris, who's gone AWOL on the border crisis. And more importantly, folks, we've got to take a good hard look at how the media and even the social media that we have, like Facebook, Twitter, and all these other, social media platforms, how they are dividing our nation and how they are censoring information from the American public. We cannot let this slide. We only have ourselves to blame if we ignore what is happening in our country right now with cancel culture, with wokeism, with these racial divisions that are pitting one person against another. I mean, I have never seen so much hate and anger just being fueled by the media. And that's what we are going to talk about today. Don't let the media do this to our nation. Don't let these folks on the left, these leftists, this isn't about Democrats and Republicans. This is about an extreme left with an agenda to divide our country, to change who we are culturally, morally, to change our society. We have to pay attention to this. So I'm going to have a really good friend of mine and somebody who I believe can brilliantly talk about the racial divide in this country. And you will listen to him because what he has to say is so vitally important. It's the only way we're going to stop this craziness in our country and stop this leftist media and these leftist lawmakers from dividing us any further. And that was former state rep Democrat Vernon Jones. And Vernon Jones has announced that he is going to run for governor of Georgia as a Republican. As a Republican, he was a big supporter of President Donald Trump. And he got sick and tired of the leftists. He got sick and tired of not being able to be a compassionate Democrat with American values, that anytime he stood up and even leaned a little bit towards what he believed is, economic capitalism or talking about liberties and freedoms, that the left would come after him, call him out like they're doing to Burgess Owens, trying to make him out something that he's not. We're going to talk about that too, how there was a cartoon recently that compared Burgess Owens, Congressman Burgess Owens of Utah, to the KKK? Really? Really? I want you to think about that. How insane is this? I don't even know where to begin. But you know where I'm going to begin? I'm going to talk about a company that's actually really great and one that I believe you should support, and somebody that actually supports this great podcast, The Sara Carter Show, and that is AMAC. It's the Association of Mature American Citizens. It is the fastest growing conservative 50-plus organization in America. AMAC believes in the values that have made America so great: faith, family, and freedom, guys. So AMAC offers an alternative to just about everything that AARP offers, but without the liberal agenda. I stand with AMAC, and I hope you do too. I encourage you to join today at amac.us/Carter. That's CARTER. That's amac.us/Carter. amac.us. Don't forget, the benefits of membership are great, but the cause is even greater. Join amac.us/Carter. So where do I start? Maybe I start on the border, from McAllen, Texas, all the way to San Diego, and the work I did in Yuma. And I want you to think about what is happening there. And I want you to think about why the media right now, most of the mainstream media, I'm talking about CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, others, are avoiding right now discussing the U.S.-Mexico border. It's because it is at a crisis level. I was down there. The Biden administration has completely failed us as a nation. And I'm not over-exaggerating this. And not only have they failed us as a nation when it comes to the border crisis, but all the children whose lives are affected, who are being trafficked into this country. I can't even begin to tell you how many children I've spoken to in McAllen, Texas, where the tears in their eyes, their frustration, what they've been through, what other children have been through trying to get to the United States. Some of them trafficked by people they don't even know. Others abandoned by their parents. Believe it or not, abandoned, literally abandoned, because there's a loophole right now. If you enter with a child that is 6 years and under, then your whole family more than likely will be able to stay just based on the anchoring of that 6-year-old. But if you're seven and older, you become a problem because they can send you back. They're not really sending anybody back. They're not, because of the way people are taking advantage of the system. So let me explain this to you. So let's say you have a child that's 7 and another child that's 10, and you're a family unit, and you realize, oh, wow, you know what? I'm going to go in, but if we go in all together, we may get sent back. So some families, some, not all, are just sending their 7-year-old or their 10-year-old or both of their kids, if they're over 7 or however many they have, with the coyotes across the river. And they will try to sneak in another way. They will try to go in without turning themselves into Border Patrol, right? So their children will be taken into custody and apprehended as undocumented minors and unaccompanied minors, and they will get put into a facility. And once the parents get in, or their relatives here on the other side, they can apply, once those kids are in our custody, for guardianship over the child. The big problem is that these children are at the mercy of monsters and predators. I'm just telling you straight up. These are monsters. These people that are smuggling these children. Children have been raped. Children. I'm talking 7, 8, 10 years old, right? Teenagers, boys and girls, by some of these smugglers. They have been abused. They're on their own. Some of them have been just left to fend for themselves, like the poor 9-year-old girl that was found dead in the Rio. They don't care about human life. All they care about is money. Even when I was down in the McAllen sector, one of the things that the smugglers would do to try to get away from being apprehended by U.S. Border Patrol or U.S. law enforcement is they'll overturn the rafts so that our guys will have to go out there and rescue people so that they can get away, so that the smuggler can be free. Other times what they'll do is if they want to get a big load of people in, and they want to keep our federal law enforcement officials, like those Border Patrol agents that you see, or DPS, the Texas Department of Public Safety, or the folks in Arizona, or the folks in San Diego, if they want to keep them busy, they do other things, right, to distract them. Well, in the Rio Grande Valley, the Del Rio sector, the Rio Grande Valley sector, they have been known to just throw children into the Rio Grande. Yeah, just throw the baby in there, right? So our guys are jumping in there, trying to rescue a baby, trying to rescue a toddler from the river, by the way, which looks calm on the top, but is not calm underneath. It's moving quite fast. It is very dangerous. It is a dangerous journey. It is a dangerous crossing. And our policies in the United States, and by the way, Biden's policies of overturning all of President Trump's immigration restrictions, the migration policy saying you got to stay in Mexico or you got to stay in your country to apply before you enter the United States. It's simple. It's law, you guys. It is a law, and there are laws for reasons. The laws exist so, one, that there's an orderly movement of immigration into the United States, and two, so that we don't benefit and pile billions of dollars into the drug cartels' pockets and human smugglers' pockets. That's what we want to avoid. We do not want people being pawns, not of the drug cartels, not of the human smugglers, and certainly not of our lawmakers. And that's what we've become. That's what these poor, innocent children have become. And by the way, there are some really bad folks. And look, there are good people that are migrating, poor, that need a better life, that are looking for a better life. And there are some really bad apples in there. Really bad apples. When I was in Tijuana, I was at this migration camp right on the border. And by the way, I had to rush in to do an interview with somebody that lived right near this migration camp on the border of San Diego. There were 1,500 plus people in this squalid camp with tents, children everywhere. The man that I interviewed lived in the neighborhood right there and is so frustrated and angry because the Mexican government is refusing to do anything. There are people smoking meth inside the tents with the children. There's MS-13 gang members walking around armed, allegedly, in the camp. One of them actually threatened a reporter the week before with a knife. She was a foreign reporter, apparently from Germany, and she fled the camp, terrified that she was going to be targeted. It's a mess. It's a mess. You can't even imagine what this is like. So you're telling me all these people are sitting in this camp. And guess what's happening there? The NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, people in the United States, and I'm going to have a huge story on this week. I'm doing a lot of investigating into this. We are looking into this with a fine-tooth comb, but there are people that are just out to get the money that Biden has promised. Remember that $4 trillion, right? It's going to go to Central America, going to go to Mexico, going to go to NGOs. And guess what? The more chaos, the more money the Biden administration is going to dole out. Mark my words. A lot of what we are seeing is done purposefully. People want to line their pockets, and they're using human beings to do it. Innocent people and children. Who's going to care for these kids? I went to a shelter, thankfully, a great pastor inside Mexico with the children. I talked to children from Honduras and Guatemala. I talked to their families. They're not living in the squalid camp. They went to go live in this shelter with this pastor. And, they are waiting their turn. Legally, they have applied for asylum and they are waiting their turn. And they are so frustrated because when they're watching the news every single day, all they see is people just crossing the border illegally and then being allowed to stay in America. So if you're doing it legally, they feel like fools. They're like, oh, I must be the biggest fool in the world because if I just cross the border illegally, I'll get to stay. It's unexplainable how we are allowing this to happen. I want to play a clip, and I want you to hear this. This is Mayorkas denying there is a crisis, although Joe Biden said this Sunday that there is a crisis at the border. But I want you to hear Mayorkas. This is a DHS Secretary, Mayorkas, denying that we have a crisis.
You said earlier in your testimony that the situation at the border is undoubtedly difficult. Well, given the tremendous rise and surge of individuals coming to the border, wouldn't it be fair to call it a crisis? Because that's what your agents are calling it.
Mr. Ranking Member, first of all, if I may, I didn't necessarily agree with all the statistics that you cited. Mr. Ranking Member, I'm not spending any time on the language that we use. I am spending time on operational response to the situation at the border.
Think about that. I mean, how do you just lie like that? all of your agents. I was in McAllen. Mayorkas flew in. He flew into the airfield on a government issued plane, U.S. taxpayer dollars, right? He didn't come in like me, flying economy all the way into McAllen, getting out. No, he flew in. He didn't want any reporters asking him questions. Gets out, meets with under 50 agents. By the way, some of them asked him straight up. I know this for a fact. And I actually said this on television, where they asked him straight up about the gag order on the media. They said, sir, what about the gag order you've placed on us and on the media so that we can't talk to the media? He became offended. He said, oh, there wasn't any gag order. I didn't put a gag order on the media. What are you talking about? Every single person that I know at the Border Patrol has been asked not to talk. In fact, it's so bad right now that even I had to interview somebody, a DHS official, and they went in disguise on this last week in San Diego because they did not want to be ostracized. They did not want to be threatened. They didn't want their job being threatened. Right? They have enough. Look, they have enough to worry about. They're worried about our border being the first line of defense, and now they can't even tell the truth to the American public. And you've got some guy, Mayorkas, who, by the way, I can't even believe he's Cuban descent. I'm Cuban. I'm half Cuban. And that this guy believes the way he believes. He doesn't care about the people that are working on the front lines. He didn't even bother talking to them. He didn't even bother talking. He talked to under 50 inside, mostly officials, but he didn't want to hear from the guys who are facing every single day, the people that are crossing, the thousands of people that are coming into this country illegally. And by the way, exposing themselves to COVID-19 and other medical issues that are at the border. And even for the migrants, sometimes the Border Patrol agents are the first line of help that they get. I actually watched that with my own eyes when I was down there, and this man was so terribly ill. And it was actually National Border Patrol Council Vice President Chris Cabrera who actually helped this gentleman who was extremely ill. But Mayorkas didn't answer any of those questions. Listen to this clip. This is Psaki, who says those concerned about Vice President Harris and the crisis need more to do.
Republicans have, over the past few days, been quite critical of the vice president.
I've seen that. They need more to do, I think.
They need more to do? They need more to do? Who are you? Press Secretary Psaki? Who are you really? I mean, why don't you come down to the border with me? I would love to give Vice President Harris a tour of the border. Why doesn't she come into Mexico with me? Go visit the migrant camp. And if they don't believe that there's any MS-13, if we're all over exaggerating, if we're making stuff up, if we're being alarmist, then she has nothing to worry about, right? If the border is not in a crisis, then why not go down and look at it yourself? Why doesn't she bring her own video camera? I mean, use your iPhone, Vice President Harris, Jen Psaki. You guys got iPhones? Go down there. Come stand with me in McAllen, Texas, on the Rio Grande Valley, and tell me that there's not a problem. Because there wasn't a day that I didn't go down there that I didn't encounter undocumented, unaccompanied minors, young children without families, family units, and people from all over the world. By the way, Romania, a lot of Romanians crossed just last week. I know that. I got a report on that. And Romanians crossing, people from Egypt crossing, people from Pakistan. Everybody's getting the word. Apparently, the whole world knows about the crisis, but the Biden administration, they don't know anything about it. I mean, they are so out of the loop. They must be living in a bubble in Washington, D.C. They actually have no idea about it. Listen to this. I play this over and over again because this tells you so much about Vice President Kamala Harris.
Plans to visit the border?
Not today. But I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
Wow. You know, it's really easy to giggle and laugh when you don't have to actually talk to another human being that has suffered after maybe traveling 8 weeks as a child, and you're just in tears crying, watching this child break down in front of you because they are alone and they have no place to go, because we've incentivized the worst people in society to basically traffic them into our country under promises that they will be given so much when we really know, all of us, that there is nothing for them to get. In the end, living in shadows once again. When we don't do our jobs, when we don't fulfill what we are supposed to do as human beings. It's really easy to laugh that off when you're not sitting there with people that are suffering, that have really suffered through life. If you care about the people you say you care about, Democrats, leftists, if you really care about them, you would not perpetuate this horrific behavior. You would find ways of resolving it. And you cannot resolve a crisis like this unless you're actually there, unless you actually know what's going on. You know, stopping off for 15 minutes like Mayorkas and then flying out or whatever, you know, from an airfield without ever going to the border is a sorry excuse for covering this challenge, Secretary Mayorkas. It's sad. You're sorry. I mean, there's no other words to explain how ridiculous that was to so many of the people that work for you. Like they were just, it's embarrassing. It's not even just embarrassing. It's just plain wrong. Mayorkas should have been there. He should have seen what was going on. He should face up, and the Biden administration should own up to what they're doing. It's wrong and it's unfair, and people should not suffer anymore because of these horrible policies. Horrible policies. Okay, but there are some things that we can do to make our lives better. I'm not going to just, I know I'm beaten down on the border issue, but I've been there for the last 6 weeks, and I want you all to hear about how we can resolve that crisis. But there is a crisis that we can resolve in our own homes, and this is home title theft. I want you to understand that what cyber thieves have been doing is removing people from their home's title, and then they become the owner of the home. I've talked to you about this before. This is why I say get home title lock. Because it's coming. They can come after you. They can come after your home. Well, if you're not on Facebook, that big breach is here. Facebook had 500 million accounts exposed to cyber thieves. Can you imagine that? Your Facebook, you don't even realize this. I mean, me, you, anybody who's had Facebook. And according to a retired FBI cybercrime expert, everything thieves need to take over as a new owner of your home was leaked. Your name, address, personal information, it's out there. The thief forges your signature on a quit claim deed, basically stating that you sold your home to them. I couldn't even believe this was real, that this actually happens. Then they'll leave you in debt or even have you evicted from your own home. Do what I did and protect your home's title with Home Title Lock. I got Home Title Lock on both of our properties. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim. I certainly hope you're not. Then sign up for 30 free days of protection during this high-risk breach. Again, go to HometitleLock.com and use promo code RADIO. That's RADIO. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code RADIO, and you will sign up for 30 free days of protection during this high-risk breach. Now, without any further delay, I got my good friend Vernon Jones. He's a former Democratic state rep in Georgia, and he is going to be challenging Governor Brian Kemp. I'm so excited. In the GOP primary, he's going to get him out. If I know anything about Vernon Jones, he is a fighter, and he's going to speak the truth. Vernon, I'm so grateful that you're on the show today. I did a big intro with you, you know, and now I'm hearing all of this great news coming out of Georgia that you are going to be running for the Georgia governor in 2020 against who everybody's angry with, Governor Brian Kemp, who's the incumbent Republican. I'm very excited about that. Tell me a little bit about that and what made you decide to run.
Well, Sarah, you know, I wasn't going to run this year again. I just wanted to help the president get reelected because I think he deserved it. He earned it. And when I saw how they treated him in Georgia with our election fraud, if you will, and I saw how he was treating other states, I couldn't leave the battlefield. And then I saw my own governor, Governor Brian Kemp, that this president helped get elected. When I saw him cut and run, I'm like, what is going on? But then when I realized, Sarah, he was a part of that backroom agreement with Stacey Abrams and the Secretary of State, where they came up with an agreement on the executive side that changed and manipulated our state election laws when only the members of the General Assembly can do that.
Why do you think that happened? Because a lot of people don't want to believe this, that how can a Republican governor, Brian Kemp, work with Stacey Abrams to do this? Explain how this happened quickly.
Well, very simple. He's afraid of her. When he almost when at that last election, when the liberal media made it look like she almost won and just got in his head, and at the same time, she has never, by the way, conceded that she lost. It frightened him. It scared him. And he thought by having that agreement with her that she wouldn't run again. But he only messed things up because he created this atmosphere of fraud. There were no drop-off mailboxes then. There were no just open mail-in balloting. That wasn't the process. And that was changed by the executive branch. He, the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General, who should have known better. It's in our Constitution. Only we can do that, the members of the General Assembly. And we had no idea until after the 2020 election, after the November election. But here's what's interesting. At that very moment, he could have called a special session. He could have updated all of us on what happened, that backroom deal. We didn't know what was in that agreement. Mm-hmm. And then we realized that he didn't want to do that because his handprints are on it. He was a former state senator and a former secretary of state. He know doggone well he did not have the ability to go and change election laws. Pandemic or not, let me tell you, our Constitution does not say in the event there's a pandemic, then you can change election laws through the executive branch.
Thank God. Yes, you're right. That's exactly the truth. And I don't think people understand that. I want to talk to you a bit about, because you're a registered Democrat. You have shifted now. And I mean, you and I have talked about this before, how the Democratic Party has changed, how it's become, it's unknown, like what it's turning into, some kind of very extreme leftist organization. And I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I have some questions about what is happening inside our country and how you've become a target just because you're talking it to the center. You have some ideas. You believe in capitalism. You believe in freedom. You believe in liberty, and how the left has gone after you.
Well, first of all, I've been a lifelong Democrat. I was reared that way on our family's farm. Faith-based, hard work. The government doesn't owe you anything. Get out there and get your own. Get educated. That was what my parents taught me. And treat people like you want to be treated. And you know what? There were issues with the Democratic Party that has taken place over the past 30 years. When I joined the party, it was still similar to what John F. Kennedy had. 30 years later, no, they want me to support transgender bio males participating in female sports. They want me to support children having sex, transgender sexual operations, their children. If you have to be 18 to vote and 21 to buy cigarettes, but you want to do that to children. You want me to now defund police departments? I've had to command a very large police department. No, I'm not going to do that. And you want me to support open borders where they're coming in here and they're taking our resources and our own American citizens aren't being helped? I couldn't do that. I couldn't tolerate it anymore. And more importantly, I realized the Democratic Party did not want Black people to think for themselves. They wanted to be, they have this maternal, paternal instinct. Let us take care of you. Let us think for you. Matter of fact, we'll even build you a house, but not in our neighborhood. And the government's going to say, we're going to put you on a program, and not job opportunities and not business opportunities. The handicap, I'll say this, a Black mind is a terrible thing to waste with white liberals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And where are all these white liberals or Black liberals or leftists when children are dying in the streets of Chicago, when children are dying in the streets of Baltimore, when we have a government that says, oh, okay, we're going to build more facilities for children that we've allowed to be trafficked into the United States and abused by coyotes, right? But we're not even giving anything to our own children here in America.
And at the same time, you look, they was a hotel bill for about $88 million to house these illegals that are coming over. And first of all, I believe in immigration, but it has to be done the right way. But we have veterans living under bridges. We have families with children living in poverty and under bridges.
We have the mentally ill. We have the mentally ill living on the streets in LA, in Baltimore, here in Washington, D.C.
And you know what? Let a parent abandon a child here. That parent would be put in jail. They are purposely sending these kids across without their parents. You have these drug dealers, these cartels. They're in the business of of doing children trading, getting parents are paying them to get their kids across the border. I mean, this is crazy what has happened. In the meantime, when I look at what happened in Georgia, I honestly blame Brian Kemp for this. You know why? Because first of all, he didn't stand up for election integrity. And as a direct cause of that, we lost 2 U.S. Senate seats and we lost President Trump's election. And when I always was saying, I made it clear, so goes Georgia, so goes this country. Georgia went, and what happened? Now we have Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden. And they remind me of the Wizard of Oz. One has no heart, the other has no courage, and the other has no brains, and not necessarily in that order. And
well, who's behind the curtain? Who is behind the curtain, Vernon?
They're not being led by Dorothy and Toto. They're being led by the Wicked Witch of the South, which is who? Stacey Abrams. I mean, this is crazy.
It is. When you put it that way, I'm actually getting a really great visual. And it's almost like a new musical theater, right? Like I'm going to see Stacey Abrams as the Wicked Witch from now on. What about the MLB? I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about what just happened in Georgia, pulling out from the All-Star game, in Georgia. And, it's like, it doesn't benefit anyone in the state of Georgia to have the MLB pull out the All-Star game. I mean, especially when you think of impoverished communities or helping the Black community, then moving it over to a white community. I mean, what kind of craziness is that?
Well,
and also to a community, by the way, that has stricter voting rules and regulations than the state of Georgia.
Well, again, let's go back to the tip of the spear of this whole drama anyhow. Brian Kemp's lack of leadership. He didn't handle properly our election in 2020. It cost us, again, our 2 U.S. Senate seats in the president's election. He didn't handle the election reform bill that was passed. And I know why, because it wasn't his bill. First of all, it was the legislature that passed the bill. It was a step in the right direction, but it didn't go to the heart of what people are really concerned about and have unanswered questions about. And that's the current election system. If I become governor, when I become the governor, guess what? Goodbye to something that nobody in this state really trusts. The second thing, lack of leadership. Why didn't he meet with the business community?
Right.
Why didn't he set them down and say, look, I want you to see this bill. Let's start with you, Delta Airlines. Mm-hmm. Don't we have to have an ID to get on your plane? So where's this hurting anything? Then we go to Coca-Cola. Now, Coca-Cola, before we talk to you, weren't you having training sessions for your white employees, telling them to be less white? Mm-hmm. What? Really? Now, what if you were telling your employees to be less Black? What do you think would happen from the Black community?
Oh, absolutely. Do you think there's a hypocrisy here, Vernon?
And then Major League Baseball. So you want to talk about Georgia's election laws when Georgia's election laws are much better than the laws up in the state of New York. As a matter of fact, what Georgia election laws do, and I would say, is they make voting easier and make voting fraud harder. They don't make it hard for those who want to commit voter fraud. And by the way, like you said, New York, Major League Baseball, you're moving it to the city of Denver. Denver has less than 9% Black population, but you're leaving Atlanta where it's about 51% population, Black population. Look how many Black businesses and Black children and fans and others, but people, period, Black, white, blue, and brown. Look how we've lost that. And then here comes Brian Kemp want to stand up to this. Well, he's a day late and $100 million short. And I can tell you why I know he's nervous. And I know the Atlanta Journal-Constitution liberals are nervous. Can you believe that the AJC, that liberal rag, is giving him, or they literally promoting him and say, oh, this is going to help him build his base. They only doing that so they can get him out of the primary to the general election. Then they're going to hand his head to what? Stacey Abrams, because they know I can beat Stacey Abrams. I'm the only person in Georgia that can beat Stacey Abrams. I'm the only person.
I actually believe that. And with my whole heart, I believe that. And it's not just because I've known you for so long, Vernon. I know because of the passion that you have publicly. When you reach people, you actually connect with them. And I think the voters understand that. You connect with the voters in Georgia. You connect with voters all across the country. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see this, but the Salt Lake City Tribune published this really racist cartoon of Congressman Burgess Owens, and he reacted to this cartoon. I'm going to play that for you in a minute, but I want to know your opinion after you hear it. Why is it that when anybody stands up to the left, if I'm half Cuban, right? I'm Latina, anybody who's Hispanic, anybody who's black, if you stand up and you have values, what I call American values, I'm not even saying conservative. I'm just saying downright American values. You believe in capitalism, liberty, freedom, all of those things that make our nation great, hard work. They target you. They try to rip you apart. They ostracize you. The cancel culture wokeism comes after you. And then they try to push you off into a corner. I want you to hear what Congressman Burgess Owens said in reaction to that racist cartoon.
Say this real quick. I grew up in the Deep South in the 60s. And at the age of 16, when I was just getting a chance to be introduced to white Americans, I came to a conclusion of what racism looked like. There's a Southern and a Northern. Southern were people who hated black community, but at least you knew it. You knew what they stood for. You knew they would try to delete you, damage you, or hurt you whenever they could. And then there was a Northern one, which I now call elitists. These are the ones that they smile on your face, they say they love you, they put their arms around you, and they stab you in the back. As soon as they find out that you don't agree with what they think, that they think black people should be thinking. These people, the racist trib, could care less about black people. They can care less about the Hispanics, those victims coming across the border, which is what I was talking about, these kids. They have an agenda, and what they want to do is divide us.
What they want to do is divide us. Do you ever feel that right now? I mean, even with the rioting that's going on, there's no real discussion about our children, about our communities. I feel like they're pushing this nation towards a race war. And I'm talking about the very left. I'm talking about the people on the left that are nonstop going after, and anybody who stands up to them is either ostracized, pushed aside. It doesn't matter what color skin you have. They are going to push you to the side, and they are going to try to cancel you. I don't know. I'm just
let me say this. You know, white liberals have destroyed the black community. Now it's time for the black community to destroy white liberals because they have fed us a false narrative. They have used our votes to carry a liberal agenda that had nothing to do with helping the black community. Now they've gone to Jim Crow 2.0 themselves. Now they're literally going out handpicking blacks because too many blacks now running against white liberals. See, they always want to be in charge of black people. They want to be in charge of us. They want us to vote for them, but us not vote for them. So what they're doing now, they're handpicking, like Stacey Abrams, they handpicked her. Warlock, they handpicked him. You know why they handpicked him? Now, how can you imagine have a pastor of Dr. King's church, and Dr. King was a conservative. Now here he is supporting late-term abortions. What they were able to do is buy him out, buy his soul, got black people thinking, oh, we support black people. But he sold his soul like Daniel Webster did. He sold his soul. And so then now they put that money behind them. So any other black who think like me in the Democratic Party, we don't have a chance because they've already bought and paid for him. And he looks like, oh, they're for diversity, but they're not for diversity. They don't want black people to think for themselves. They don't want them to own a business. They don't want them to get off welfare, off government assistance. That's the mentality of them. Now, for them, when you look at white liberals, they are so afraid of me and Burgess Owens. They want to silence us. They want to shut us down. Why? Because they know that we are free and slaves. And you know what they do? They'll go and they'll get blacks to attack blacks. That's what they used to do on the plantation. They'll go and get a black slave to beat the black that left or ran away from the plantation when they capture him and bring him back. So they use blacks to beat us, when in fact, they're the ones who behind the scenes pushing all the buttons. Because that black person, you know what? When you see yourself being whipped up and beat up and bullied, whether it's on social media or whatever else, you're afraid to come out. You are afraid to come out. Just like white people they were afraid to come out and say they're for Donald Trump because they didn't want to be called a racist. So they're putting us literally in buckets. They're redividing us. And Burgess is right. And Burgess is a great American. We all know that.
He is.
He's a success story in so many ways. And to attack that brother, good man, loves his country. And that's the thing. We're not supposed to be NRA supporters. We're not supposed to be pro-gun, pro-First Amendment, or any of that. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing to us. That's why I said on many occasions, man, a black mind is a terrible thing to waste with white liberals. They are destroying.
How do we fight it back, Vernon? Because I agree with you. They have ostracized. I can't even write a story about President Trump right now without Facebook trying to cancel the story. They don't want to put anything on the web, on social media about Trump. It doesn't matter, but it's not just Trump. It's going to be anything that they disagree with, right? Take away our freedom, to speak. Really shackle us down, right? Keep us from saying the truth.
You know what's interesting? I have people from the LGBTQ community supporting me, and they're mad at the left because they're saying the left thinks that they're supposed to dress a certain way and act a certain way. Now, if you're going to be gay, you have to act a certain way and dress a certain way. Isn't that something they're saying? That's offensive to them.
So how do you fight this?
To them. Well, here's how we fight it. We fight it on your podcast. You fight it with me becoming governor and standing up. Our choir is getting bigger and bigger. What they did, they have awakened a sleeping giant. That's what they've done. They've awakened a sleeping giant because they're seeing their civil liberties and their rights eroding away from them. I'm telling you, it's changing. And the big tech and the Democratic Party, they are trying to stop this. But I'm telling you, they are more afraid now than they've ever been. And you know what? The choir is getting bigger. More African Americans, they see me. See, they are conservative and they've been taken advantage of in the Democratic Party, but they never trusted the Republican Party. The Republican Party has to do more, and they have to do like Donald Trump. You just can't put a black person in a commercial and think you're going to win the black vote. You have to reach out and work in their communities, go there. They trust me. They know me. I'm across the board. I've always called balls and strikes. So as more of me and the Burgess Owens and you and others out there, that is opening the door. We are coming. I'm telling you. And I want everybody to join me at jonesforgeorgia.com. We're going to win this governor's election. And when we do this, we're going to win the country because guess what, Sarah? Imagine me as a governor in the South, the great state of Georgia, as a Republican, going back home to the grand old party, bringing brand new people, brand new ideas and grand opportunities, going across this country. Now I can go to those states where I know there was conservative Democrats and say, guess what? I was one of you all. And I'm black along the way. And I'm Republican. We are shaking up this country. And that's what it needs. And the Republicans got to fight. Those rhinos, they got to fight. You know, you ever see Chuck Schumer and others, Nancy calling white Republicans racist? White Republicans should be calling them racist. When I see Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer get down on one knee with a kente cloth around them and they're pandering to blacks, but they're so pro-black, really? Then why in the hell are you wearing a kente cloth that belongs to a tribe that started the slave trading?
Well, could you imagine if President Trump would have done that? Could you even imagine the backlash? Oh, by the way, before I let you go, because I know you're running, you got campaigning to do. I'm so excited. You actually... And I mean, you've given me like some kind of energy right now. I'm feeling so positive. I'm like ready to get out there and I'm ready to fight and take back our country and all these great things. I mean, that's really what you do, Vernon. You give that energy. You know, you connect with people, but I'm not going to let you go until you give me a little bit of insight into your recent conversations with President Trump and how he's feeling about your run in Georgia.
You know, first of all, that President Trump, he's a fighter. You talk about energy. When I'm around him, I even get more energy. He loves Georgia. He loves this country, and he's not through. The left is afraid of him. They're trying to shut him down. They try to shut him down with the social media. They try to shut him down on just general liberal media. But guess what? This president is so powerful. He's so popular. He has an 88% approval rate among Georgians, Republicans here in Georgia. And when I talked to him, he said, Vernon, we're going to fight. He said, buddy, you still with me. I won't forget you standing with me. The president and I are on the same page. Let me tell you, fighters recognize fighters. He knows I didn't cut and run with him like Brian Kemp did. He knows I put it all on the line. I had everything to lose, but I didn't care because I believed in him and I believe in what he's doing. And I still believe President Trump has done more for this country in the past 4 years than any president has in the past 60 years. I was with him on Saturday night, the Lincoln Day event down at Mar-a-Lago. Mike Pompeo was there. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, got a chance to talk to him as well. The president has Georgia on his mind. The president has Vernon Jones on his mind, I can tell you that. And Sunday morning, you know, he loves golf. Saw him, good spirit, said, Vernon, take that fight to him. So guess what? The president's ready. It's on already.
And you're ready, right?
He never quit.
And you're ready, right? You're ready?
Georgia's ready. More importantly, Georgia's ready. Do you know this past weekend at the Republican county conventions, 15 counties voted to censor Governor Kemp. And there's others who were almost on the borderline, but he sent his minions out there to try to taper it down because they didn't want to look like they were favoring me over him. But guess what? It doesn't matter. The grassroots people are with me. They know I'm a fighter and they want to fight, and Georgia needs a fighter. And let me tell you,
We need fighters like you, Vernon. And that is the reason why you are on this show. That's the reason why I'm bringing you back over and over and over again until you are governor of the great state of Georgia. And guess what? I better get one of the first interviews when you become governor of Georgia, because, I like that. I am not abandoning ship. I'm on the Vernon Jones team.
Sara, as long as I'm in public life, you will get interviews and anything else you want from me. Come down here, I'll get you some lemonade or some tea. We're hospitality folks down here in Georgia, but I love and admire your courage. Before you even knew who I was, you touched me. You motivated me, and so many millions of people, Sara, because your passion. And you know what? That Russia BS, you kicked them in the butt from day one. You were ahead of the curve. You deserve an award, not Cuomo getting an award for what? For killing people? And they still haven't taken it back from him. But anyhow, I have to go. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. All your folks, please go to jonesforgeorgia.com. If you don't live here, you can still donate. And everybody has friends in Georgia. So let them know that we're ready here. Georgia's ready. Vernon
That's
Jones.
right, Vernon. We're ready for you. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Wasn't that great? I mean, Vernon Jones actually energized me. But there was one question that I did forget to ask him. And Vernon's my friend. I'm going to call him up afterwards. I'm going to ask him, has he been watching the news on the unidentified flying objects, or unidentified aerial phenomena is now what they're called? UFOs are now unidentified aerial phenomena. So, I mean, I have been covering this, as you know, for the last year. I've had Lou Elizondo on the show multiple times. He was former head of the Pentagon's program on the UAPs. And right now, the Pentagon is actually validating the latest videos to have been released. These are videos showing triangular-shaped objects that are U.S. Navy captured. They were leaked to a filmmaker and an investigative journalist, Jeremy Enyon Lockyer Corbell. Long name. I'm jealous of the guy. I wanted them leaked to me. So next time somebody gets any UFO videos out there, leak them to SaraACarter.com, and I will post them on the site once I'm able to validate them. Anyways, the videos have been validated by the Pentagon. The Pentagon has admitted that these are official videos, that these videos do show what appear to be craft that are moving at a high rate of speed, unexplainable rates of speed, and that they were both witness to two Navy ships. And I got to tell you guys, this is so important for you to understand that these videos are coming out now. It's a process, I believe, of disclosure to all of us, because obviously there is a moment in time where I believe our own U.S. government is getting to a point and saying, look, this is real. And we're probably going to see more of this. Now, whether or not this is technology, I pray to God, not from another country. Okay. I pray to God that it's not from another country, because then we are so far behind the curveball. It's going to be a nightmare for all of us. Okay. It's going to be a nightmare for all of us. But let me explain to a little bit before I go to this clip of Lou Elizondo. These sources confirmed to me that the video and the documents obtained by the Corbell that were obtained by Corbell from the USS Russell and the USS Ohio are authentic and real. The USS Russell incident occurred in July 2019. The incident involved Strike Group 9. It was within the warning areas off San Diego. According to Corbell's website, the crew witnessed and recorded multiple pyramid-shaped craft. Also, what's really interesting about these craft is that one of them was recorded coming out of the water. So coming out of the ocean directly into the air. So from under the ocean and straight out. That is something that the Pentagon is studying right now. And they're moving at such high rate of speed that no human that we know of right now could survive the G-forces that some of these craft are moving at, and some of them are between 400 and 700 Gs. Listen to this clip from Lou Elizondo.
I think that if there is something that is being provocative in our airspace and coming up close and personal to our military assets and equities, then yes, I believe that is a form of communication. Now, are we let's say sitting down at the table and having PowerPoint briefings and writing memorandums of agreement? I don't think that's the case.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. And they are saying, people that I have been talking to, that these craft are intentionally showing up around our U.S. military and around our nuclear facilities. I think that, honestly, that is something that we all should be aware of, something that we all should be concerned with. It's not like we have enough problems, right? Holy cow. We're dealing with possible alien life, advanced technologies, and we still haven't even figured out how to handle things here on planet Earth. Anyways, it just makes life a little bit more interesting. It gives us something to think about, lets us know that maybe we're not alone in this vast universe, and that maybe sometimes there are more important things that we need to be paying attention to, and not allowing people to divide us and divide our nation and divide our world and divide our country, and not being afraid to call them out when they do. That is why I had Vernon Jones on today. That's why I've been traveling back and forth to the border. We deserve the truth. That is the reason why I'm focused and I won't run away from the UFO story or the UAP story, because I believe it is important for us to call out truth wherever we see it. That is why you're here with me on the Sara Carter Show. Thank you so much. Remember, you can read all the stories at SaraACarter.com. That's SaraACarter.com, as well as follow me on Twitter, guys. Remember, they are shadow banning so many of us, but if you follow me on Twitter, go to @Sara Carter DC. That's @Sara Carter DC on Twitter. On Parler, it's @Sara Carter Official. If you go to my website, SaraACarter.com, you can find all my links there, and also sign up for my email list, because you can't be shadow banned if you're on my email list. You will not be shadow banned. I'll make sure to get a hold of you every week, give you the latest stories and the latest interviews with some of the biggest newsmakers in the country and in the world here at the Sara Carter Show. Thank you so much. Have a great day. God bless. And remember, we're taking the story back.
Hi, it's Dana Lash, host of The Dana Show. Every day, I'm here to keep you up to speed on the most important stories and info that you need to know in your very busy life. And if you're always on the go and you want to stay connected, just download our daily podcast and take it with you. It's a great way to get up to speed on what you need to know and what legacy media may not be telling you. Visit danaradio.com and click on the podcast link, or subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.